Krishna. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much for joining another exciting episode of Bhagavatam Bites. Here with my dear and wonderful friend Michael Dixon. And we've been connecting yesterday and today, doing some reading and chanting. And it's very nice to be with you again.
Nice to be here.
And, he's had a touch of pneumonia and different bits and pieces, so he's recovering from these challenges in material life.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But he's ever fresh and strong and eager to hear and chant and read together. So we thought we'd do a little reading together. So we're going to continue our reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. And here we're reading from a beautiful book. Bhava Bhakti would be so envious because she loves reading from the books, but at the moment she didn't have her book. We got to get up to the 25th chapter before we have the book that she can start reading from again. So we're reading from 4th canto, chapter 22, which is entitled
Prithu Maharaja's meeting with the 4 Kumaras.
Perfect. And text 60. So we'll do the invocation together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so would you like to read?
Okay. In his bodily strength and in the strength of his senses, Maharaja Prithu was as strong as the wind, which can go anywhere and everywhere. As far as his intolerance was concerned, he was just like the all-powerful Rudra expansion of Lord Shiva and
Sadashi.
Keep going?
Yeah.
In his bodily beauty, he was just like Cupid, and in his thoughtfulness, he was like a lion. In his affection, he was just like
Swayambhuva
Manu.
Yeah.
And in his ability to control, he was like Lord Brahma.
So these verses are continuation of description of how, I think it's Shukadev Goswami, or it might be
Shukadev Goswami.
It's either Shukadev or Maitreya.
Maitreya,
Let's see. See, it's sometimes not easy to know who is speaking here. Great sage Maitreya continued.
Okay.
So Maitreya Muni is describing the qualities of Maharaj Prithu. So like that. Okay, now we have text 62. Yep.
Yeah. In his personal behavior, Prithu Maharaja exhibited all good qualities, and in spiritual knowledge he was exactly like
Brihaspati.
Brihaspati. In self-control, he was like the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. As far as his devotional service was concerned, he was a great follower of devotees who were attached to cow protection and the rendering of all service to the spiritual master and the Brahmanas. He was perfect in his shyness and in his gentle behavior. And when he engaged in some philanthropic activity, he worked as if he were working for his own personal self.
Okay.
Keep going?
Yes, we can read the purport. And looks like purport is 3 paragraphs. So just read the first paragraph and then we can discuss a little bit.
Okay. When Lord Chaitanya talked to Savarama, I can't.
Oh, Sarva.
Sorry.
Sarvabhauma.
Sarvabhauma
Bhattacharya.
Bhattacharya. The Lord honored him as the incarnation of
We just said that name. Brihaspati.
Brihaspati. Brihaspati is the chief priest of the heavenly kingdom, and he is a follower of the philosophy known as Brahmavada or Mayavada. Brihaspati
Brihaspati
is also a great logician. Logician.
Logician, yeah.
Magician. It appears from this statement that Maharaja Prathu, although a great devotee constantly engaged in the loving service of the Lord, could defeat all kinds of impersonalists and Mayavadis by his profound knowledge of Vedic scriptures. We should learn from Maharaja Prithu.
That R, when the R has a dot under it,
I can't even see the dot.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. The dot. Yeah. When
it implies there's an I after that. So it's Prithu. And the same with Brihaspati.
Brihaspati. That would take years for me to that a Vaishnava or devotee must not only be fixed in the service of the Lord, but if required, must be prepared to argue the urge with the impersonalists.
Argue, not urge, but yeah, be prepared to argue.
To be prepared to argue with the impersonalists. Maya
bodies,
with all logic and philosophy, and defeat their contention that the absolute truth is impersonal.
Okay, wow.
That's a lot. Just to pronounce the words is tough for me. But do you want to go back to the big?
No, we'll just say a few words now, and anything comes to mind for you apart from the difficulty of the words and.
That's a distraction because when I hit those words, when I'm reading on myself, I just kind of scoot over them. I recognize the words, but when they come up with so many different ones like that, it's hard for me to absorb that and keep it,
Yeah.
And so it becomes a distraction, and which means that I'm not following what these actually are saying.
Yep.
So that's the tough part with reading in this verses like over here.
Maybe you could read just from that what we just read.
Yeah.
So I kind of connected Michael with these beautiful books. Brilliant as the Sun from Krishna Dharma Prabhu and Chintamani Dham Devi, and he's now up to Canto 4. Reading through them because they've done all the way up to Canto 9. So, I think it was
60,
59, and 60. Yeah,
and then it just goes right to here.
I think it's still used. Yeah, but then go ahead and read it all. No problem.
His judgment matched that of Yamaraj, Lord of Death. His personal affluence was as astonishing as that of the Himalayas, which are laden with valuable jewels and minerals. He possessed wealth like Kuvera, treasurer of the gods. His secrets were as unknown as those of Varana, lord of the waters. King Prithu was as powerful as the wind, which can go anywhere and everywhere. His righteous anger was no less than that of Ruda, the all-powerful expansion of Shiva. His bodily beauty was like that of Cupid, and he was fearless, like a lion, and affectionate like Manu, the father of mankind. His managerial ability was equal to Brahma. He displays all good qualities, and his spiritual knowledge equaled Brahmaspati,
Brihaspati.
his sense control matched that of Lord Vishnu. He was devoted to those who protect cows and render service to the spiritual master and the Brahmins. Modest and humble, he would serve others as if he was serving his own self. His glories as pleasing as those of Lord Rama spread throughout the three worlds and were heard and chanted by pious ladies and saintly persons everywhere. Vidura exclusively thanked Maitreya for his narration. I feel so elevated just by hearing about King Prithu's qualities. Shrill bird song drew both men's attention. Two Himalayan mono pheasants strutted out of a nearby dense area of bamboo, and I have no idea.
That's a flower.
That's a flower?
That's an English term, rhododendron.
Rhododendron, okay. I've heard that, rhododendron.
It's not exactly English, but yeah.
The careful male dipped and sidestepped as he performed his courtship dance, while the tiny female coyly turned away. What's a coyly?
Well, coyly, like shyly.
Oh, okay,
coyly,
okay.
You know, like that.
Twilight was approaching, and as soon as the snow leopards would be on the prowl. Yet neither man felt like fear. Felt any fear. Miraculously, even predatory animals never bothered the saintly devotees who lived scattered throughout the Himalayas. Maitreya said, "Let us take our baths and recite our mantras. Then I will tell you more about King Prithu."
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see at the end there, that's why I was looking at the book, at the end, Krishna Dharma embellishes and creates the scene that isn't described. So all this about the snow leopards and the rhododendrons and
that's not
the
in
colorful
that's not
male
in this.
book. Yeah, it's not in there.
Right.
It's,
So
he's creating the scene that there's
right.
that there's a conversation between these two
Right.
men, and they're where
Right.
they're at. They're in the middle of the jungle
And that makes
in
it
the
so
Himalayas.
it makes it flow so much easier,
Yes.
and you can absorb it more than you can there.
Now, a few things that he did here also is he didn't mention Swayambhuva Manu. He just mentioned Manu, and he spells things phonetically in there. He doesn't use the Sanskrit spellings.
Okay.
So if you look at Prithu, it's actually spelled with an I.
Okay, it is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually spelled with an I, so I would have been saying Printi, because it has, when you mean in this is spelled with an I.
No, here it's spelled with an I, right?
Oh, I'm looking at the last, I'm looking at the U. Okay, yeah. Prithu, okay.
Yeah, it's it's
Prithu or Prithu?
it's actually Prithu. See, in Sanskrit you don't say th.
Yeah.
Th. There's no th.
Okay.
It's t.
It's ta.
T. It's either t or t.
Wow.
And it's very subtle.
Yeah.
So it's Prithu.
Prithu.
It's actually Prithu. Ritu. Prithu.
Excuse me. How does anybody? How do you remember that? How did you learn that? Of course, I know
The
you.
same way you learn, you speak Spanish. I can't even speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So if you started speaking Spanish, it wouldn't mean anything to me, and you can probably read it too.
Yeah.
But you learned it.
Yeah.
So you just learned.
You learned it. Yeah.
You learned
That's okay.
woodworking. You know woodworking. You were just telling me before this. You
Right.
was telling me all about constructing different things.
It's all.
I don't know. You learn.
Yeah.
So we learn these things. So now, of course, the older we get,
The harder it is.
the harder it is, or the less likely we are to learn. Whatever it is, whether we just become our memory goes, or we just become like for me. When I was younger, I would learn so many Sanskrit slokas. Now I find it takes me longer to learn them.
Okay.
But that's also partially because I don't put as much attention into it as I used to.
Right.
So it could be that you quote unquote can't teach an old dog new tricks, or it could be just that we become a little lazy.
Yeah.
Or
right.
our brains just don't work as well as they used to, whatever it might be. But it's harder to learn things theoretically the older that you get.
Yeah, absolutely. I can attest that.
But at the same time, we can see, oh, okay, so it's like that,
Right.
And
right.
I mean, because we're always learning new things anyway.
That's right. That's right.
Like you just showed me your, you use an iPad to take pictures of the things that you're making. Right. So you had to learn how to do that.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
set up the
that's
tripod
right.
and So all these little things.
You're right. It's a language. It's a different language, and it's just
it's different rules.
There's no way that I could be able to ever get to the point of wherever you are.
Well, I don't.
This is like, but that's the same. You'd never be able to get to the point where I am with Spanish.
No.
It's the same. It's the same.
I mean, I could, but I'd have to really, really apply myself.
Yeah.
Probably if for a year, every day for like an hour, I practiced, then I'd be able to come here.
Right.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
¿Qué tal?
¿Qué tal?
¿Qué tal?
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Right.
And then,
Yeah,
I mean, there's a few words in Spanish. Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista. It's an easy language to learn.
What is it? Gracias.
Gracias.
Un, dos, tres, cuatro.
Yeah, right.
Did
you take some Spanish in high school?
No.
Where'd you learn it? Just by?
You just pick it up.
Pick it up, yeah.
You meet people. Living in Europe, you meet people.
Right.
But anyway, the point. Let's get back to the Bhagavatam. Is that this book kind of helps to make it more accessible. It's more phonetic, the spelling, so it's more accessible. Even Brahmana is spelled. He spelled it Brahmins, Brahmins, like that or something. So it's more phonetic, but still, the point being that Prithu Maharaj is being compared to different personalities because of his great qualities. His greatness is being extolled here.
Okay.
And in the purport that we read, Srila Prabhupada gets into an interesting statement because he mentions that Brihaspati, so Brihaspati is mentioned here, it's in your book too, that he was exactly like Brihaspati.
Okay, I don't know who that is.
Yes, well it's said back here, and this is what we were discussing yesterday about not pushing forward too much until we understand some of the things.
Yes.
But it said Cupid Swayambhuva, where is it? It mentions Brihaspati, Prithu, strong as the wind. Maybe it's just this one. He followed devotees, cow protection. This is weird. Okay, so when Lord Chaitanya, it just starts talking about, I'm sure that it mentioned Brihaspati in the actual text, but it seems that it didn't. It seems it was just in the purport that it came up. Okay, so it says, when Lord Chaitanya talked to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the Lord honored him as the incarnation of Brihaspati. So and this is really good for everyone also, because when you're new to this, like that whole sentence just might not even make any sense. Who, what is what. Lord Chaitanya, you might understand a little bit.
Yeah, I understand.
As an incarnation of Krishna. But then it says that he was talking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
That leads me in a...
Yes, and so you skip over that. Yet, if you grab your other book there, we can show that too, that you're reading. So you can just show, reading Teachings of Lord Chaitanya as well. So, in there, for sure, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is mentioned several times.
Okay.
But probably you just read over it.
Oh, yes, I did.
Because it's like, okay, whoever it is and whatever it is.
Right.
But actually he was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is a Brahmin, and he's like a priest or a minister. So he was the main minister to the king of Jagannath Puri, where Lord Chaitanya resided for some time. And he was honored as an incarnation of Brihaspati. And Brihaspati, it says here, is the chief priest of the heavenly kingdom, which means he's the priest of the demigods.
Demigods.
That we were just talking
okay.
about. Yeah, see, now that's what we like.
Yeah.
When the light goes,
Yeah,
bing,
yeah,
okay.
right.
So all the demigods we were talking about yesterday,
Right.
they have a chief priest.
Okay.
And their chief priest is Brihaspati.
Brihaspati, okay.
Yeah. And Brihaspati had an incarnation that appeared at the same time as Lord Chaitanya, and his name was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, which you're not going to pronounce that, right now. But
What do you mean he had an incarnation?
well, means that
Like
Lord
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
is an incarnation.
he's kind of an incarnation.
Okay.
He's actually Krishna himself. That's come in a mood, but like the Vishnu forms are incarnations of the Lord. Varahadev, the boar incarnation.
The boar incarnation, yeah.
Or Matsya, the fish incarnation.
Right.
Or Nishringadev, the lion, half man, half lion incarnation.
Okay.
Vamana is the dwarf incarnation. So incarnation means, it's actually...
Coming to the material world.
Yes, it's actually a misnomer for incarnations of God because incarne, which is Latin, means into the flesh.
Yeah.
But actually, God never appears in the flesh. He's
no.
always transcendental. Yeah. So it's kind of a misnomer.
Yeah.
But the terminology helps people to understand.
Yeah.
It's like more like an expansion.
Okay.
But we have had many different incarnations. So Brihaspati, who was the chief priest of the demigods, he incarnated at the same time that Lord Chaitanya was here.
Okay.
And he incarnated as Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Okay.
And him and Lord Chaitanya had a very powerful conversation and interaction, which is probably, I think some discussion may have been in this book. Actually, it isn't covered in here. But there it is, yeah. Talks with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Okay.
So you haven't gotten to that yet.
No.
But talks with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So a really powerful point that's being made here is that if you don't understand who these personalities are and the pieces of the puzzle aren't getting put together, then it's the depth isn't there.
Yeah.
So when I read that, immediately I remember the whole conversation with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and because and the reason that Prabhupada is bringing this up, because he starts saying, of course, he mentions that Brihaspati was known as a Brahmavadi, and you wouldn't understand what that is, or a Mayavadi. So these are two tracks of philosophy. A Brahmavadi is someone who understands that the Brahman aspect of God, the energy aspect of God, is supreme. And that we're all that energy, so we merge into that energy.
Right.
That's impersonalism.
Right.
That's why he goes on talking about impersonalism. Yeah. Whereas we understand that the energy aspect of God is real, it exists, but it's not the highest. There are two other aspects of God. One is that he's in everyone's heart as the Paramatma.
Paramatma, I remember that.
Or the soul, super soul.
Super soul.
So he's in the heart, and that's how we communicate with him and how he
Right.
knows what's going on and
Right.
facilitates our prayers and our actions and activities. Then the third aspect of the Lord is known as Bhagavan, or the personal aspect, that God is also a person. Beautiful, there he is. God is a person, he is the supreme person. And then we see on the back of this is another pastime from the book. This is the Prachetas meeting Lord Shiva. But this is Krishna. So God is energy. Like a lot of people worship nature.
Yeah.
But that's just God's energy.
Yeah, right.
Then people say, no, you have to get in touch with that higher consciousness within yourself. That's the super soul.
Super soul.
And then people pray to God, that we can't see, but we know God exists. And it's a conversation, which means he's a person. He can hear, he can speak, he can act.
Right.
So that understanding of God as a person is personalism.
Right.
And that's our philosophy.
That's right, yeah.
But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Brihaspati were promoters of the impersonalism, that God is an energy, and we become that energy. And there's a very refined distinction between Brahmavadi. A Brahmavadi means I believe in that energy of God is all pervasive, and I'm part of that, and that's the supreme. That's okay. I mean, yeah, it's not offensive to God because it's true to some extent. We are certainly part of God's energy. But Mayavadi, and Prabhupada goes a lot into the purport about talking about how that needs to be defeated, because Maya, you know what Maya means?
Maya is it's not, I get it confused, but Maya is
that which is not.
Not, right.
The illusory energy.
Illusory, yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's
illusion.
Illusion, yeah, to be illusion.
That's the word I was trying
and
to
what
say.
is the primary illusion? That matter is real and supreme, and that we are matter.
We are matter.
But that's illusion. We're not. We're spiritual.
Right.
And we're just encaged in the material.
Matter.
So Mayavadis believe that everything in the material world is Maya, is illusion, and that even when Krishna, when he appears in the material world, his body is also Maya. And we don't accept that.
No.
So that's considered offensive.
Right.
So therefore for us, those who espouse Mayavad philosophy are meant to be rejected or defeated. Yeah. And to defeat them, you'd have to be well versed.
Right.
To reject them, you just need to say, I don't want to hear this, and I go away.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
So like that. So anyway, this is a little bit of the background of how, because there Brihaspati is mentioned. So it says in his spiritual knowledge he was exactly like Brihaspati. Because you can imagine, to be the priest of the demigods, you have to be extremely learned.
Exactly.
So it is a little bit interesting here that Prabhupada mentions that Brihaspati was a Brahmavadi or a Mayavadi.
Yeah.
So that's quite heavy. But in the pastime with Lord Chaitanya, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a very strict, he was like a Mayavadi.
Yeah.
And Lord Chaitanya listened to him. I'll tell you a little bit of the background. We don't have a lot of time, but a little bit of the background is Lord Chaitanya had just taken sannyas. He had just renounced the world. And he went to Jagannath Puri with a whole entourage. When he got to Jagannath Puri, he went into the temple, he saw the deity of Lord Jagannath, and he went into such ecstasy that he fell unconscious.
Yeah.
And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya happened to be there. He saw this very attractive, young renunciant go into ecstasy and collapse, and he was the chief priest. And so he ordered everyone, bring him to my house, I'll look after him and take care of him. So he did that, and he began to tell Lord Chaitanya, you've taken sannyas too young, because Lord Chaitanya was like, I think 26 or 27, something
you've taken?
He took sannyas.
Sannyas, okay.
Which means he became a renunciant, the fourth stage of the ashrams.
Okay.
So he had been a grihasta, he had been a family man, he was married, and then you renounce. So he took the danda and wore saffron clothes and became a swami.
Swami.
Like that. So Sarvabhauma anyway was saying like this, and then he said to him, but you're a renunciant. He said, so you should be practicing Vedanta, kind of thing. And then he said, I can teach you, because I'm the chief priest, and I have and he had like something like 20,000 disciples.
Yeah.
Sarvabhauma had so many disciples. So Lord Chaitanya said, yes, I'm happy to hear from you. So for 7 days he sat and listened to to Sarvabhauma speak, and at the end, Sarvabhauma became a little frustrated and said, you've been listening to me for 7 days, but you haven't asked one question, you haven't said anything. He's like, are you understanding what I'm saying? And he said, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't make any sense. And he was like shocked.
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what do you mean it doesn't make any sense? And he said, because you're explaining Vedanta, but you're explaining it like this. And he said, but actually Vedanta is like this and that and that. And then he just started explaining everything. And Sarvabhauma was like, he converted Sarvabhauma. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember that.
So Sarvabhauma became converted by Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
But one of the key points is that the first thing that Lord Chaitanya did was, because he was such a respected person, he gave him space to speak.
Yeah.
And Lord Chaitanya listened.
Yeah.
And he said, I can repeat back everything that you said.
Yeah.
But it's full of faults. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so, then when he started to speak and explain, because Lord Chaitanya himself was also an erudite scholar.
Yeah.
But of the personal philosophy,
Yeah.
not of the impersonal, something like that.
Wow. I need you all the time to explain this.
We need each other.
Huh?
We need each other.
Yeah,
yes, so this is the whole point of Bhagavatam, as we were discussing yesterday, that it's to come together and hear and chant, just like we're doing here, and we have people tuning in online.
And it's knowledgeable. I mean, it's just you get more out of it with I do anyhow, because you explain it to me in a way that I can understand. Whereas to read it, sometimes it's just I get lost in the names and everything. And I'm sure everybody does.
Which is why the other book is a little bit better.
Yeah.
But the more that you do it over time,
sure.
which is
like,
of course when
like,
we're older
like,
we don't know.
Like learning a language, but it's slower when you're older.
It's slower,
yeah. It is. It's definitely.
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I think we're gonna stop here. We've
Okay.
gone a little bit over time. Hopefully everyone was able to stick with us. We thank you all very much for tuning in again and again and again to the Bhagavatam Bites. And I just want to say once again, thank you so much, Michael, for your valuable time and for being my friend and for inspiring me with your inspiration, your enthusiasm to hear and chant. He's reading all of these books, and as you can see, it's just not so easy to grasp all of this.
No, it's
Many
not.
of you out there also know. So, but we all continue together, and we'll help one another. Anything you'd like to say in conclusion?
Just that I'm thankful that I've met you, and every time we get together, it's inspiring, and I can't thank you enough for changing my life and my course and in everything you've done. So this.
By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.